Hello from the BBC World Service and welcome to the latest edition of the Documentary Podcast. Every week we bring you a range of stories from our presenters and reporters across the world. If you have the time, please rate the documentary on your podcast app and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think.
They have a minute when the bell goes off. They sleep in their clothes to make it easier, duck under their mosquito net, scramble their shoes on, run to the engine and hop on board. Then, the frantic scene of four of the crew cramped in the back seat, putting on their fireproof gear before the truck heads out. I'm Nick Miles and this is Lusaka Fire and Rescue on the BBC World Service. It's the story of the firefighters of Lusaka, Zambia, young men and women who can never move fast enough for the city around them, always leaving from here, Lusaka's only working fire station.
Hi, who's in charge of the crew? Who is it?
This one took 64 seconds. It's 3 a.m. and it's a paper recycling company near the centre of the city. A warehouse, all its machinery, 2 lorries and around 7,000 square metres of scrap paper lying outside have caught fire. They jump out. Unpack the hose.
Fast.
Get the pump going.
Pressure.
And in the black of night, against the orange flames, the silhouettes of 4 firefighters start hosing all around them.
Advance, okay.
A city of ignored safety regulations, of a handful of water hydrants, of faulty wiring and combustible homes. Lusaka clearly is not the easiest place to be a firefighter.
From the right to left, number 1, 2, 3, 4.
5 hours later, the paper fire is almost out, and it's the dawn of a normal workday back at the station. All under the watchful eye of Robert Banda, the deputy chief, with a barrel chest and an unusual message on his forearm.
Y-A-L-E.
What did the letter stand for?
You see, when you were young, all right, 15, 16, we used it to play football. Now, I used to play in defense. This was the name of a lock. So it was more like I was a good defender.
Oh, I see, because your safety, the defence is safe. A lot, yeah, of course, yeah. Right, did you cut that in your own arm?
You know, I don't know, we're children, we use the matchsticks to scratch and then we make tattoos.
That shows a high degree of commitment to the team.
Yes, there is too much pain. You know, using a matchstick, rub until the letter is written.
Needless to say, he runs a tight ship. Out in the yard, the cadets have already started their daily marches.
Fighter!
While just inside, one team of officers is finishing their 24-hour shift, handing over to the next with a salute. Robert, meanwhile, has some history to show me.
We are standing in the entrance of the fire station, and this fire station was officially opened on the 1st of July 1959.
So you're reading there from a faded brown plaque on the wall.
Yes. Before then, if there was a fire, the police and some volunteers, they would go. Maybe it is water in buckets, maybe they are extinguishing a fire using soil. When you talk about organized fire fighting, this is where it began.
Indeed, this was not only the first station in Zambia, it was a leader across the region, training recruits from other British colonies nearby. But the years after independence have proved difficult. For colonial Lusaka was a different place, a small and segregated city of 120,000. Now, Lusaka's population is over 2.5 million, the vast majority living in the informal compounds around its edge. At the same time, the Zambian state itself has suffered a decline, harmed variously by mismanagement, a fall in copper prices and a 3-decade economic slump, and then cuts to public services to try to reverse it. The end result is this: Lusaka is served by this one rundown central fire station and one substation temporarily out of action. Paris, of a similar size, has over 80 stations. Though here, if things are really bad, there's help from the city's airport and Air Force too. Robert takes me into the watchroom, where they take their emergency calls, and he tells me about some of their unconventional ways of raising money.
Somebody has a swimming pool. Like now it is hot. They will say, oh yeah, I want you to fill my swimming pool. Then we count the trips, and then at the end of the day, you work out a bill for him and you pay.
But most of the station's work, of course, isn't filling up swimming pools.
If you look at the statistics, NAA, the bulk of our responses, it is to homes of the less privileged, where fire prevention measures are very low.
It's in the compounds where the shanty homes are tightly packed, the walls made of wood and cardboard, and the meals cooked on open fires. And it's here in the watchroom, with its outdated maps on the wall, where you begin to get a sense of the fire service's relationship with the city it tries to help.
Sorry, what's your name?
Dangila.
Dangila is on the call desk, and more polite than I think I could ever be.
And the calls you get, they're not always genuine calls.
Yeah, it's just someone wants to believe that fire brigade is really working. He would call you. Just a minute, call. Hello, good morning. You are through to Lusaka City Fire Brigade. Good morning, madam. How may I help you? You are calling Lusaka Fire Brigade here. He's hung up.
They hung up?
Yes.
Is that normal? People just call them?
Yeah, so they want to try if it's working. Yeah, he just called, I answered, he said, oh, hello, yes, good morning. Another caller. Hello, good morning, you are calling Lusaka Fire Brigade. Oh, okay, thank you so very much, but this is not the hospital. You've called fire brigade here. We don't deal with such. Thank you so very much, Mason.
But as we discuss a relatively quiet morning, it's clear the station also has problems with Zambians who don't know its number.
A certain incident that happened in Kamala South, and the owner didn't know the number for fire brigade. He was just watching the house burning. So a passerby just saw the house, and they called the fire brigade here. When we reached there, they said, no, you've come late. But we asked him, what number were you calling? He told us 992. So we told him, say, no, the number for our brigade is 993.
That's crazy, isn't it? I mean, it's been 993 forever.
Yes, it's been that forever. You find that one wants to drive from Choson to here to come and tell us that there's a fire at this side.
So some people in the past, they've actually seen a fire is happening. They've driven to the fire station.
Yes.
Because they weren't aware of which number
they don't. Yes, a lot. We receive a lot of the running callers, driving from a long way, as far as Chilanga to here.
Chilanga is how far?
45 minutes or so.
Unbelievable. I'm gobsmacked.
Dangila is himself a fireman. They take it in turns to man the call desk. In fact, he was 2016 Firefighter of the Year for something fairly heroic.
Yes, the house belonged to a certain Indian. They were living 16 in that house. He came driving here. Yeah, we went together with him there. We found the house is in flames. He had thought everyone had vacated the house. The kids are with their mother outside. Well, the mom also was thinking that the kids were with their dad in the car. But 2 kids, they were in the bedroom. They were sleeping in the bedroom. So they had gas cylinders in the house, the one they used for cooking. The cylinder exploded. That's when the kids now, they woke up just to find the house is in flames. So one screamed. That's when there are some people screaming in the house. That's how I went outside to the fire engine. I soaked myself. Then I went in. That's how I found them, not on the bed, but on the floor. That's it. I opened my zip here with the fire tunic. I got the 2 of them like this. Then I came with them out.
Grabbed them
I grabbed them
inside your
Yes,
chest?
inside my chest, yes. Then I come with them outside.
Did you have time to really think and make conscious decisions before you went into this burning building?
Yeah, because one of the qualities of a firefighter is courage. You have to have courage. Where people think you can't do it, have a positive mind, think I can do it. So when I just heard people like screaming in the house, I said, no matter what it is, I'll do it. I had courage in me, say, I'll do it. If it means dying, I will die with these kids.
But exploits like Dangila's don't mean the Lusaka Fire Service is the most popular.
How can you actually buy a fire tender at $1 million per fire tender? And you actually buy approximately 42 million. Look at the expense of the Zambians, the economy itself. Zambians are currently suffering.
You see, when the current ruling party came to power in 2011, they did so in part with the promise to restart public spending. And in the last couple of years, this has even extended to a new fire plan too, to build stations right across the country, including 3 more substations here in Lusaka, and fill them with new fire trucks. But its purchase in 2016 of 42 fire engines from a Zambian trading company for $42 million has not gone down well.
So we've just come across a group of people, 50 people or so, walking along the roadside in the centre of Lusaka. Apparently they're heading to the local government ministry and they're holding up placards. We must see our $42 million again. We're not cowards. We want this money back.
These protesters were organised by a minor political party, but their suspicions are shared across the city that the government either overpaid or, worse, that it managed a corrupt bidding process, a charge it has denied and currently under investigation by an independent commission. Regardless, they're not happy.
So what do you want the government to do now?
No, sometimes they should actually look at the plight of the people first. Yes. Us Zambians, the normal people, the majority of our youths are unemployed.
And while no one at the station was involved in buying the engines, it is the firefighters as they drive around Lusaka on the front line of their city's discontent. And talking to one fireman back at the station, it seems like they can't win either way.
I'm Elijah. I'm 27 years old and I live in Meanwood.
Elijah lives in Meanwood district now. But until he joined the fire service, he was one of those youth who were unemployed, over half of those in the city, living with his parents out in Lusaka West. And he's seen the other side of it too, how operating with only a few engines from one central fire station has also worn at the firefighters' ties with the community.
Here, once they see you, you have to do something, at least to avoid the crowd saying bad things, because normally once we do something wrong, even if you're at the scene, people normally do stoners. We just hear stones. Because we are just going there to help them. It feels bad.
Frustrated by how long it can take the crews to get out to emergencies over town, Lusakans throw stones at the firefighters on their arrival. And even when nothing's thrown, the atmosphere can still be pretty antagonistic.
There was a time we went for an emergency somewhere very far outside Lusaka and found 2 trucks were alight and people trapped in it. It was emotion, it was my first time seeing someone being burned. For us to remove the body, it took us almost 2 hours because all the heads were on fire. I felt bad seeing the father of one of the guys who was driving a truck crying there. And people started saying, yeah, you're late. So I was like, do they even know where we're coming from?
Then, later that night, with Elijah in the truck too.
Give her emergency, give her please, give her emergency.
It's about 5 minutes past 10. Pitch black. We're going on some streets that are pretty poorly lit, heading to a northern part of Lusaka, a place called Olympia. The guys in the truck are describing it as a place where there are mansions. So it's a house fire, which so we're about 5 minutes away from it.
Oh, that's a fire too. I told you, underpowered.
Well, we've reached the fire now and it seems to be pretty well established. It looks like a reasonably big bungalow. The whole of the roof seems to be on fire. We've seen a couple of people trying to jump in through one of the ground floor windows at the back here. Billowing black smoke coming out of it. Obviously really distressed relatives desperately trying to look inside to see what's going on.
While no one here was too hostile, the crowd was hard for the firefighters to control. As the 4 of them doused the flames on the roof, dozens of neighbours were streaming into the house itself, passing sofas, curtains and TVs through the doors and windows. And though the crew were here within 15 minutes or so, there were some complaints for the firefighters, some old and some new.
When the fire was just smoke, we were calling, no one was speaking.
How long did it take for the fire officers to come?
It's over an hour now.
I was thinking that maybe they've got special ladders where they can go high up there.
They don't even have speed.
You don't need to be a rocket scientist to see a $1 million worth of anything. $1 million, that's a lot of money, huh?
After maybe an hour, they'd put the fire out before it spread to the next house. But truthfully, no one that night seemed like they would remember that part at all.
I'm a firefighter. I've seen...
The next morning, I wanted to find out more what effect this kind of life has on the firefighters of Lusaka and on their families too. So, with his shift finishing at 8, I came back with Elijah to his home, met his wife, Macy, and firstly asked her about some unusual footwear Elijah was wearing the night before.
Elijah last night showed us some socks. Now, were you aware that he stole your socks to go to work?
He stole them.
I believe so.
He's a thief, actually. Yeah. He likes stealing from me.
Sky blue and a little bit of pink in it.
Oh my God, I like those stockings. Oh.
Yeah. I couldn't find mine, so I just grabbed whatever was just near me.
But the job takes its toll on Macy in other ways too.
Because it's not easy for me to be his wife. He works 24 hours. I have to sleep alone. Anything can happen through the night. But I love him.
So if you're worried, how do you take your mind off that worry when he's away?
I don't sleep. I just keep on praying and calling him. He tells me that I'm going for an emergency. Make sure you pray and take care of yourself. And then I keep on calling him to find out if he's okay. Sometimes even gets irritated. I call him maybe 50 times.
50 times in the shift?
Yes. If he doesn't answer his cell phone, I call the door free.
So if he doesn't answer his mobile number, you actually call the emergency fire number?
Yes.
So maybe you shouldn't be clogging up the lines with personal calls, but that's fine.
In fact, Macy's found it hard being with Elijah, almost from the moment they met.
When you told your friends that you were going to get married to a firefighter, what did they say?
Almost everyone was saying, no, I wouldn't get married to a firefighter. One of my friends told me that it's 50-50. Once you go for work as a fireman, anything can happen. Maybe firefighters do die. You know, my husband's not going to die because we have a lot of things to do.
Sometimes we've heard that firefighters in Zambia don't get much respect from the general population.
That's very much true. Firefighters don't get respect.
But as they gave me a tour around their rented home, there was clearly also another side to this.
Our hours will be done soon.
And you're building your own house?
Yes.
Simply put, Elijah has a paid formal job, something enjoyed by just over 1 in 10 Lusakans. And with his wages, they're building their own house for the two of them and their 3-year-old son, staying for the moment with Macy's mum.
I feel like I'm a very respectable person now. I can even get some phone calls from other family members saying, oh, we need help here. Because by the time I was not working, no one could even call me to say there's something. I'm now responsible. I've got a job. I'll be able to help.
In his own eyes, and his family's at least, Elijah is now worthy of respect. It's just that sometimes it feels like the rest of the city disagrees. I leave Elijah and Macy to it. Firefighters only have 2 days rest before another 24-hour shift, and head back to the station to talk to Robert, the deputy chief.
I'm being hammered here,
And I ask him, as the boss, about the firefighters' standing in Lusaka.
We've noticed, unfortunately, that a few times when we've been in the fire engine, people have shouted, hey, does that cost $1 million? How do you feel about it? When people say
I'll tell you honestly, being heckled by members of the public is dealt with during the basic training. There is no amount of insult that can make me sway and forget my role or my responsibility.
Some firefighters we've spoken to are upset. They don't feel they're given the respect they deserve.
I agree, All right? We people react differently to situations, but that's the reality. You cannot teach the community how to treat you.
It might seem single-minded, but it's not that he doesn't care about his officers. He trained almost all of them, and he's proud of them. Rather, what comes across most with Robert is this, something often dismissed as absent on the continent, lost in a fog of corruption. It's a sense of public duty.
And what about when you arrive and some members of the community start throwing stones and rocks, saying you arrived too late?
We cannot abandon the community whenever they call. No matter they throw stones at us, it is the law that requires us to go there. But at the same time, we also understand that if we don't go there, the affected victims are not part of those people throwing stones. The victims themselves, they really need the help of fire brigade, and they do appreciate afterwards.
Then, a call to somewhere to test Robert's theory. A house fire in Mutenderi, a compound 10 kilometres east of the city centre. And Dangila, Firefighter of the Year, sat in the truck with us. Mutenderi didn't even exist when the fire station was first built. Now it's the cramped home of over 40,000 people. And as we leave the malls and jacaranda trees of central Lusaka, the streets get narrower, bendier, dirtier, slowing us down before we make a complete and unexpected stop.
Dangila, why are we stopping at the police station?
An escort.
An escort, okay. Well, we stopped en route at a police station because of the possibility of a bad reception. The policeman's just got in with a big shotgun under his arm, so we're making our way now to the scene of the fire.
And then, armed escort aboard, squeezing down a rutted dirt track after 25 minutes, a crowd of over 100 adults and children await. Amongst them all, I managed to snatch a moment with Dangila.
So it's a small fire in a small bungalow here. Is the fire out?
Yeah, the fire is still there in the ceiling board. That's where the firefighters are inside right now. Sure.
Must be really difficult because in places like this we're surrounded by hundreds of people. So it's keeping people safe is very difficult, isn't it?
It is very difficult. And that is why we have to get a police officer so that at least can control the crowd. Sure.
And as the firefighters finish their work, I talk to some of the onlookers themselves.
What do you think of the firefighters of Lusaka?
It has just become so bad now.
And you, sir?
Okay, they do respond quickly, but the only problem sometimes being faced in compounds is the roads. But otherwise, with the fire tenders which has been bought, they are improving.
Here at least is some recognition of the obstacles the crew face and the efforts they make. And truly, most people here just seem excited to see the team at work. But as we come back, that's not quite the impression shared by Dangila.
Yeah. And we've just come back from a place where sometimes stones are thrown at you. Tell me your feelings now.
Well, we are safe. You know, when you go to a compound like that, there are a lot of people with different characters. I guess you saw the moment we arrived there, some were saying, go back, go back, go back. I guess you saw that. If it wasn't for that police officer, it would have been another issue. They would have stoned us.
The shifts have changed now. Dangila's at home resting, Elijah too, making plans with Macy for their new house. And I'm sat with the new team after our nighttime meal of maize porridge and beans. And as we wait for the bells, it's a story from Kennedy about a latrine built over a pit in the compounds that, despite everything, the running into burning buildings, the recovery of charred bodies, the bad receptions, the protests, seems to make it all worthwhile.
We've gone to a couple of emergencies whereby babies dumped in a pit latrine, and those are built out of cement, concrete. You have to break through, get access, go inside. I've actually gone for one incident where we went to save a baby dumped in a pit latrine. We saved that baby, took it to the hospital. That was like 3 years ago. After that, there's a nurse who adopted the baby because the mother was nowhere to be seen. The same woman who adopted her, now she's the one who brought her.
She brought her here to see you?
Wow. To see the crew. And I saw after 3 years, she's grown up, beautiful girl. It was one of the best feelings in life. I really loved that. I actually shed a tear that time, because the time I saw the baby in the pit latrine, the baby was so small, and I saw her walk in. I was like, thank God I saved their life.
Big changes are afoot for the fire brigade in the next few years. In the north, south, east and west of the city, there'll soon be 4 substations to house the fire engines whose $1 million price tags have proved so controversial. But they're moves that would, in the long run, one hopes, transform not just the fire service, but its reputation across Lusaka. In the meantime, the men and women here will continue to turn up, leaving the station within a minute, risking the insults and thrown stones of their fellow citizens, taking the blame for the failures of Lusaka's past, a city without the roads, houses and jobs its residents need, and the decisions of their bosses to try and correct them. And the song they sing on their sports day marches every Thursday under the midday sun seems to capture that something about them, the sense of public service and a grim acknowledgement it's unlikely to be applauded. Olo Munizonde, you may hate me, but you don't know me like my mother does. I'm Nick Miles, and that was Lusaka Fire and Rescue from PRA Productions. The producer was Sammy Kent.
Thank you for listening. There will be more from the documentary podcast soon. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. And don't forget, do try our other BBC World Service podcasts too.
Starting on the 16th of April.
A major new podcast series.
She was laying with her head down there and her legs up here.
A woman's unidentified body. A 47-year-old mystery. Our investigation.
Search for Death in Ice Valley wherever you find your podcasts.
You can hear the preview now.
Subscribe now and you won't miss the first episode.